Episode 594 comes to you live on the 18th of November 2022. Looking for context after a semi successful World Cup, and I would not say that the World Cup was a botched one, and that's the same for the other teams who did not make it to the semi-finals. The other team who made to the semi-finals but not the final. Let's not target one team. Let's not listen to this negatory nonsense. The relevance of the India New Zealand Cup. That's what everyone is looking for, isn't it? But then, game one of the India New Zealand Cup, not surprisingly, was washed out. And then the question becomes, we have two 20 over matches, 350 over matches with regards to what is going to happen over the next 12 months, because there's going to be this divide between the 50 over format and the 20 over format. Which one is relevant? And if we want to talk about watched World Cup, I'll give you example 92, 96, 99, 2007. That's what you call a watched World Cup. Why don't you mention that? Then what's the point of appreciating the same team when they're doing well at the group stage, and then suddenly whatever happened in the semi-finals happened in the semi-finals? Why are you being so negatory about it? Nobody wants to listen. It's negatory nonsense. But let's see what the PPED media has added fresh fuel to it. Having not learned from their mistakes, India will aim to shed their archaic playing style. I do not agree with this. For good, with the help of a young and fearless bunch. I don't know what young and fearless means. Against New Zealand. After the World Cup debacle in UAE last year, India did adopt an aggressive batting approach, but by the time the next edition came, the top order was found wanting and failed to take the attack to the opposition. India found themselves running in circles as the wait for their first trophy in 9 years got longer. So let it get longer. The first Hockey World Cup since 75 has gone to almost 50 years. We have been running in circles. We have a fresh and a fearless bunch even in hockey. I will not call it a debacle. I will not call it a botched World Cup. Yes, last year was all about bad luck more than anything else, but I will not call it a debacle. But maybe this talk about fresh perspectives will become a farce. Who knows? The second one also is washed out due to rains, or maybe it is not washed out due to rains. What happens? The match happens, fours and sixes are hit. Have you seen New Zealand grounds? They are so small to what is called postage stamp. They're very small grounds. They're grounds as small as a school's playground, which combines a cricket field, a football field, an athletics field. Have you seen that? They're small grounds, but then the size of the ground hardly matters today. And let's not get into this botched World Cup situation. We waited 30 years from 83 to 2011, and in between there was 2007. So why are we getting so worked up about a trophy? Why don't we write a similar story on hockey, similar story on football, where I'll talk about that later, but you know where I'm going with this. So I do not agree with the term botched World Cup. I do not agree with this. Let's see what other print media wants to add to this. We have been here before. Botched World Cup, bilateral series yearning for context, and premises of a change template. A year ago, after the crash out of the T20 World Cup in UAE, India invited New Zealand home and beat them 3-0. West Indies and Sri Lanka were humbled by the same margin as India gradually began to walk the fearless talk. Yet a year on, the conversation induces a sense of deja vu. The misfiring openers, the conservative top order, the lack of T20 specialists culminating in the seemingly interminable wait for an ICC trophy. Conservative openers, yes, why not? Conservative openers. I do not think the openers were conservative at any point in time, but we saw what England did in the semi finals. That could have been done by anybody. So, what's so special about what happened in the semi finals? So, I don't know what is going on in people's head, and these two articles are negatory. Don't listen to them. Do not listen to them. Both these articles are nothing more than farce, and these articles are only written because they had to fill space, and they will keep repeating this till 2023 and maybe 2024 World Cups come to an end. And of course, they're looking at Hardik Pandya, the fearless leader. I don't know what fearless means. Is he supposed to jump off a cliff without a harness? Or fearless means that is he supposed to battle the likes of 7 foot tall individuals in professional wrestling? Is he supposed to battle Mike Tyson without wearing gloves and headgear? That would be fearless. Fours and sixes is not entirely fearless. Fearless would be if all these individuals whose name have been taken, they go to a boxing ring, they don't wear a headgear, they don't wear gloves, they don't wear any kind of protective device, and they take on the best boxers. And then that would be fearless. Fearless would be jumping off a cliff without any harness, without any safety net down below. That would be fearless. But that's stunt. And then these articles are nothing more than negatory, partial stunts. And that's what really irks me. And that is why I do not agree. But then my disagreement doesn't make a difference. So, what is the context of this India New Zealand Cup? Well, India are not the only team playing so called private series. England is playing, and then every other team, according to schedules, are already playing. So, it means hypothetically, had India even reached the finals, they would have still had to play this tournament. And what would that mean? Even if we lost in the finals, this series was already scheduled even before one knew whether they would reach the semi-finals, finals, cross the group stage. That is difficult to predict because that's the world we are in. So how do I look at game two? First, let's make sure it doesn't rain, and then we all know that, and we are all are overawed by this fearless cricket. I find it to be farce cricket. You can't be hitting fours and sixes every time, and whoever the captain is, we all know what situations there are, right? We look at seniors, we look at juniors, we look at sub juniors. Who knows? The younger guys in Shubman Gill and Prithvi Shaw and Sanju Samson, Ishan Kishan, Pant. Well, a decade from now, all these individuals will be once again called seniors. And then once again, an article may be written conservative openers, botched World Cup. I'm never going to get tired, whatever be the result in this particular World Cup, because I know exactly how it happens. The people who have written the article, well, they don't care. They have no understanding or empathy, so they have to write this because they think they have the right to write that. So let them write it. I can also counter it. And then after the India and New Zealand come, they go to Bangladesh, and after that they have something else. And then the T20 tamasha starts. and then we get overawed and excited by the performance over there. And talking about that, I'm happy that a few players from other countries are opting out. This should happen, whether it's personal reason, professional reason, or trying to make sure that they don't become part of injury groups and then it suffers when they play for the national teams. I'm happy. And I hope that more and more players opt out of it. It will be such good news. I want to see the teams struggle to find players. They've already released a few players, they've already laid off a few players, and not everyone will be selected or whatever the term is, because in 1 month's time there is the mini tamasha of the major tamasha, which I have no interest in. I don't care who plays for whom, because for the last 15 years, I have had no idea who has played for whom. They have played for so many teams. A few players have stuck to one team, but that's an exception. But I have no idea who plays for whom. But moving on from that, whatever happens in this Indian New Zealand Cup and whatever happens over the next 2 years, good things will surely happen. And such an article may never have to be written again. If it is, then you can't blame anyone. You have the younger guys who did what they could and they got the results what they could. But let's shift to our favorite, everyone's favorite, the Football World Cup. Here's a very interesting perspective to it. Everybody loves Messi and Ronaldo. They have been doing it for over 15 years, but they have never won a World Cup for their respective country. They are known popularly by playing those domestic tournaments. Cristiano Ronaldo had decided not to go gentle into the good evening of his career. He's already 36, 37. And no one cares once Ronaldo and Messi leave. It's the same thing with other sports. You leave, a fresh bunch comes in. Give respect to that fresh bunch. That's how any sport is played. Players come, players go. We get obsessed by a few individuals, and then once we learn that it could be the last major international performance, we start shedding crocodile tears. As I said last time, if one of Messi's team or Ronaldo's team goes on to win, it's still a possibility, Argentina or Portugal, the celebration that you're going to see on the streets in India will pale. Well, those celebrations are going to be in such a way that the celebrations in Argentina or Portugal, whoever wins, will pale in comparison to the celebration that happened in India. I have not met either of them. I am not from either of these countries. My own country is not playing this World Cup and is unlikely to play for another 10,000 years, 20,000 years, or they will never play a World Cup. That's a universal truth. And nothing and no miracle will happen that one day the Football International Association decides, okay, let's give India a chance in the next World Cup. India probably will never even host an international football World Cup. We know which country is hosting it and they have not qualified for it. But then awarding a World Cup to a team is something which is not something for me to discuss because I have no interest in that. And what a bittersweet voyage it's going to be. Ronaldo will be 41 once the 2026 World Cup. Messi 39. Once again, age becomes a crucial factor. But then, why are we obsessed with these? So there are a few other players also. There's Mbappe and there are other players from other teams who can do well, but For the past 20 years, we have been obsessed with these two. We have been obsessed with Pele. Maradona has always been on the obsession radar of millions of individuals. So what can you do? They are there. They have not won the World Cup. Yet we express love for them. What if both teams are disqualified from the group stage, or let's say the quarterfinal stage? Will the writers be as scathing as it was for the other sport, or will they say, okay, they still play domestic tournament, they still play for Manchester City or PSG or whatever teams they play for, they will be forgiven because they're not Indians. That attachment will not be there. And that's something that really makes me, well, surprised. Ronaldo's return to the United had all the fireworks, but statistics are not encouraging this season. He scored in only one of the Portugal's 10 games over the last year and only 3 goals for the United, where he has struggled to get a starting spot. Which means we may love Ronaldo as so called fanatics, but his own teams, his own coach is following logic and not following emotions, and they feel that these two, or at least in this case, Ronaldo has lost his charm, and I think he may have. While the Messi Ronaldo dynamics is inescapable, natural, like breathing and breathing out, let us celebrate the differences and similarities. Let us not compare but thank them for the experience. See, this article shows that they have flaws, but we will not let their flaws stop becoming their fanatics. So, why this article was not written in context of the other World Cup? It shows how this article is loaded. Whoever has written this article, you can see how this article is loaded. It's full of emotion, it's not full of logic. The other two articles that I also mentioned were full of emotions, sadness, crocodile tears rather than logic. These two may not go on to win the World Cup because only one of them can win it. And imagine another situation: Portugal versus Argentina Football World Cup final. It's still a possibility, which means France, Germany, and other teams would have to be knocked out. They're also decent teams, so anything is possible. They could be knocked out in the knockout stages, group stages. They could make it right to the finals. If that happens, then I can assure you, in this 1 month period, even the most disinterested individual might just want to watch the finals. That's how fanatic we are. Episode 595 will come to you live on the 21st of November 2022.